After Christine in 1983, director John Carpenter wanted to experiment with some films outside of horror. The first was the sci-fi drama Starman in 1984, and then the action comedy Big Trouble in Little China in 1986. Both of them were bigger studio productions, and with that, brought about a certain amount of headaches and expectations. Even though it's a cult classic today, when Big Trouble in Little China was first released, it was a box office bomb, making only $11 million versus its $25 million budget. Tired of the restrictions he was facing with the studios, he decided to make his next film independently and return to horror. He was fascinated by things like quantum uncertainty and subatomic particles. He felt that horror was becoming too stagnant and wanted to push some boundaries to make something unique. He wanted to try new ideas and different ways to make the audience uncomfortable. With the film being funded independently, he had complete control to make the film however he saw fit. He decided to write a script that melded religion with science to create some sort of ultimate evil and combine it with the notion of matter and antimatter. Carpenter wrote the film Prince of Darkness under the pseudonym Martin Quatermass as an homage to Bernard Quatermass of the Quatermass Experiment. Shep Gordon, the manager of rock legend Alice Cooper, had just gotten into producing horror films and was one of the producers on Prince of Darkness. While at WrestleMania 2, Gordon introduced Carpenter to Cooper, who was a big horror fan. With a $3 million budget and a roughly 30-day shoot, the movie was underway. To keep costs down, Carpenter hired people he had worked with before, like Donald Pleasance and Victor Wong. He also made sure that every effect could be done in camera, because they couldn't afford to do the effects in post. The movie also has yet another amazing score from John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. The church was an abandoned church in downtown LA. The lobby was the lobby of the real location, but everything else inside was a set. The college was USC, where Carpenter went to film school. They were only allowed on campus to shoot for one day. The halls in the chapel underneath the church was a deserted resort in Long Beach that was used for many different movies. The place was so dilapidated they had to be extra careful because it was falling apart around them. The impending eclipse and the moon over the church were both matte paintings. While working on some of the effects, Alice Cooper stopped by the set. Carpenter had seen his live show and loved the gag where he impales someone with his mic stand. He asked him if they could use it in the film, only modified it to be part of a bike. Cooper agreed as long as he could have a part in the movie. Carpenter was excited, and rather than just give him a cameo, he cast him as the leader of the street people. The chamber of the son of the anti-god is essentially a giant lava lamp with plexiglass blades inside. For the liquid dripping upwards, they just flip the camera. The mark that appears on Kelly's arm is the insignia of Blue Oyster Cult. Robert Grasmere, who played Frank, was also the visual effects supervisor on the film. He had the honor of dying twice, as well as having one of the movie's most memorable lines.
I've got a message for you, and you're not going to like it.
The bugs were a mixture of real for the close-ups and fake for the long shots. When the computer starts to translate the text, it was, as John Carpenter put it, just a bunch of weird, meaningless shit. He wanted it to sound ominous, but not Bible quotes or anything of that sort. For the old lady running with scissors, they did the shot by having her stand still and drove a truck behind her with part of the set. When Kelly's being filled with the green liquid, it's a shot of a mannequin run in reverse. The shared dream was shot outside the church on video. They then played the footage on TV and filmed it, which gave it its unusual look. The figure in the doorway was actor Jesse Ferguson, who played Calder, and the voice was a modulated John Carpenter. The mirror was actually a frame filled with mercury that they laid flat and tilted the camera. When Catherine pushes Kelly into the mirror, they filmed this underwater at night in a swimming pool. The movie was released on October 23, 1987, just in time for Halloween. It pulled in over $14 million, which was a major success considering the small budget. Critics were unhappy with the film and gave it mostly negative reviews. Some even complained that the movie made no sense and called it cheesy. Cheesy is one of the last things I would use to describe this movie. Also, the movie does make sense. It's just that it was written with the intention of leaving some of it up to your imagination. The whole movie isn't spelled out for the audience, and that's one of the things I like about it. It wants you to ask questions and continue to think about it after it's over. People have different interpretations of the film, some of which is explained in the movie, and some of it is only hinted at. Here's my take. Within the universe, there's light and dark, matter and antimatter. At some point, the son of the anti-god was loose in our realm. Now, this isn't something tangible like a giant demon, but subatomic particles that can exist in anything. Millions of years ago, it arrived on Earth, where it slept. At some point, a group of people discovered the sleeper, and after figuring out what it was, trapped it within this chamber. The group that captured him formed a covenant that would keep him contained. They built a church around it and locked it beneath for thousands of years. In another part of the galaxy, a supernova erupts, sending subatomic particles towards Earth, which wakes the sleeper up. The last in the line of defenders has witnessed the sleeper awakening, and fearing there's nothing he can do to stop it, dies without passing on his duties. A priest gets a local professor and his students to investigate the unusual device they found beneath the church. With the son of the anti-god awake, the world is in turmoil. The son of the anti-god begins to regain some of his powers. He uses this to overtake the lost souls wandering the city. They say the devil's greatest trick is making you think that he doesn't exist. For years, less and less people believed in the devil, which weakened his bonds inside the chamber.
It's your disbelief that powers him. Your stubborn faith in common sense that allows his deception.
The priest wants to translate the texts and prove scientifically that the devil exists. In doing so, it'll strengthen his prison and hopefully make him go back to sleep. As they do this, they unwittingly allow the son of the anti-god to begin his escape. While this is happening, someone in the future is sending messages back to the group within their dreams to warn them. With every new dream, it changes slightly, showing more of the future they need to stop. Kelly bumps part of the equipment, which marks her as a vessel the son of the anti-god will inhabit. The son of the anti-god infects members of the group, and the street people outside kill anyone who dares to try and leave. The infected release the fluid into Kelly, and she becomes the host for the son of the anti-god. When the sleeper says, "You will not be saved by the god plutonium," it means that our strongest weapon, a nuclear bomb, will not stop him. It tries to bring the anti-god over into our realm, but Catherine sacrifices herself to stop it. The priest smashes the mirror, closing the entry to our world. The survivors escape, and Brian begins to have the transmission dream, only now he sees Catherine. Wanting to save her, he tries to reach through the mirror, and then it cuts to black. The whole movie, especially the ending, is open to interpretation. As he's looking through the mirror, we see a supernova poster on the wall. Doesn't it resemble the face of the devil? Rather than a reflection, couldn't this be him looking into our realm? Did Brian get a transmission from Catherine, or was it just a dream? If it was real, was it Catherine or a trick from the anti-god? Did they prevent the apocalypse or enable it? We never see the figure until the end, so maybe it was Catherine all along and she ended up giving the anti-god what it wanted. This was the second entry in John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy that started with The Thing and ended within the Mouth of Madness. When the film aired on TV, the beginning was drastically changed. The intro titles were sped up, and they extended the scene with Brian watching TV. In the theatrical cut, it stops after talking about the supernova. In this cut, it speaks of what they found underneath the church.
The identity and genesis of this rare book is unknown at this time. Current speculation is that the book is of some religious significance dating back hundreds of years.
Brian then goes to sleep, and it does that whole blurry fade transition. Considering he wakes up screaming at the end of the film, this cut heavily implies the whole thing was just a dream. In the original trailer, it ends with Brian touching the mirror and something flying through, but it's covered by the title. Was the original ending a jump scare, or did they put this there for the trailer? I can't understand how anyone can't see this film as scary. The visuals, the foreboding music, the gradual increase in dread. This movie is nothing short of unsettling. This is one of Carpenter's most unappreciated films, and shows just how much creativity he can deliver when given full control. Prince of Darkness is one of the scariest, most bizarre horror films ever made. It's intentionally uncomfortable and refuses to hold your hand. It demands the audience to try to deconstruct the film and to think outside the usual horror conventions. It doesn't explain what's real and unreal. It doesn't have traditional villains and heroes. According to John Carpenter, even he doesn't have the full explanation. The movie, much like the son of the anti-god, has infected our world and has taken on a life of its own.
No prison can hold him now.